Okay, so welcome everybody to Embodied New World. What the hell is that about? Well, we'll perhaps see later on. This is both a talk and a kind of mini workshop. So we're going to try to experience some things that actually I certainly haven't tried before with others. I have tried them a lot with myself, naturally, otherwise I wouldn't be trying to teach them. But whether we succeed or not in this mini workshop, it's going to be very telling. There's a lot of fascinating information that we can all gain by making the effort and seeing what works and what doesn't work right now, as all my older students know very, very well. So welcome to Embodied New World. This is going to be a 1.5 hour talk and, as I said, mini workshop. And we have a few very dear friends, colleagues, and students here who will also experience this with everyone and contribute from their pretty extensive personal experience, both as students and as facilitators in their own right. And some of them are also teachers. So I hope you all enjoy it, and let's begin. So what could an embodied new world be? How does it feel? What am I talking about? And why should we care? And even more, why should we devote a lot of time, effort, and work to reach it, or at least proceed in that direction? And how do you get there? We will talk about possible ways to get there. If you want to actually experience the mini workshop, it's a good idea to prepare a way to write things down. And we're really beginning now. So I'm Ora Gavrieli of Flowering Diamond Way. And as I said, we have a few wonderful people here who have been doing work on Flowering Diamond Way and through using voice dialogue and other ways of healing and transformation. We have Rina Kesem here with us, Aviv Shalem, Leo, Shalom, and we have a few others. I don't know if they want me to say their names or not, but you're very, very welcome to join us. I'll be very, very happy. So we're going to begin with a game. Do you all know how to raise your hand? If you, just try it for a second. Try to see if you can raise your hands. Well, a few people do all sorts of stuff. Okay, so lower your hands now. And what I suggest we do is this. As I talk, we may or may not hear various things like doubts about what I'm saying or about ourselves, judgments, inner criticism. The judgment can be about what I am saying and about me. What is this weird woman talking about? Stuff like that. And the game is, the moment you hear it the first time, you raise your hand, okay? And then we'll see or do something, So for now, we'll cancel everything, try to cancel everything you've raised as much as possible. Okay, so we'll have a clear beginning. And the moment you hear either judgment about what I say, doubt, or self-criticism or anything interesting like that, you raise your hand or make some sign, okay? Because it's very natural that these things will happen, and it's very good to see how often it happens. So how do I feel in an embodied new world? It's, you know, it's very, it changes throughout the years. It's been going on for quite some time. And, but it's a very, very real feeling. So in the beginning, when it just started, I could still wonder, what could this be? And is this something that is going to stay? What is it actually? But as time went on, it turned out that this was becoming more and more frequent, more and more strong, and it was becoming impossible to doubt that something very interesting was going on. And later, to understand that this was in fact something that I decided to call a new world, and that it was being, I was both going towards it from what we could call the old world, but also I was embodying it. So the experience was in the body and not out there, or as a kind of imaginary thing, a fantasy, a thought, a hope, or anything like that. It is something that you feel so strongly in your body, little by little, that it is really, really difficult to doubt it. Okay, just as if you feel terribly sad or terribly happy and you feel it embodied, then, you know, you don't really argue with that. That's what is for you. That's your real experience at the moment. So when I'm experiencing this, there is a feeling that my whole body is filled with actual light. Now, this is something I personally never heard of. And when it started happening quite a long time ago, I was pretty shocked. And I even remember looking it up, you know, Googling it and stuff like that, wondering if anybody else has experienced it. Now, of course, there may be people who I just haven't found, but I didn't discover anything that approximated this experience. So I said, okay, that's very interesting. And at that point, it would come and go. It wouldn't stay for very long. But little by little, it became a day-to-day, a daily experience with, once in a while, the old world sort of barging in and reminding of its existence with low frequency worries, perhaps, doubts, all sorts of things that we tend to relate to the old world, stress, things that have to do with survival, perhaps, you know, stress-related survival, I would say, or vice versa. But apart from this, way back when it just began, it was a feeling as if there was a very delicate wind blowing in from something else that I didn't really give a name to at that point. And it was as if it was blowing into my, I would call it, bubble of identity or consciousness or reality. And I could feel this, and it was extremely wonderful, a very, very good feeling, and extremely nourishing. And it felt very supportive. It was like being fed with something wonderful. And then it would go away, and I would wonder, is it going to come back? It has to do with a high frequency, which is something real. You know, it can sound really new age in a bad way, but we do have a frequency, and it can be higher or lower, and we can learn to keep it high more and more of the time, while remaining in our bodies, which is for some people the tricky stuff, and remaining grounded in the old world as we feel this very, very high frequency. So there is this high frequency, there is this very, very delicate, subtle and loving and supportive feeling of being nourished. And it feels like there is less and less friction. Everything is effortless. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that it keeps like that all the time, but it can stay longer and longer the more we do our work. And it's fascinating. Also, all sorts of new abilities begin to manifest for us. Things that we could imagine before and things that we couldn't even imagine before, that are in a way in our DNA, I would say, but need to be activated and cannot be activated before we are ready for them to be activated. Naturally, there is more humor. There's more lightness. Everything is more fun in a way. There's less sadness, less heaviness, less friction, and all sorts of things of that nature. And it is a big step forward in being less and less triggered by other people, by world events, by our inner beliefs and inner selves, by thoughts and emotional charges that we all have inside of us. And little by little, we really inhabit the new world, and it is embodied in us. So it somehow happens at the same time. About a year or a little bit more ago, I dreamt a very important dream. And one fascinating thing that happened in this dream has a lot to do with this super ability to not be triggered. Now I can be triggered, of course, but it's very, very rare, thank God, by now. And in this dream, there was something that it has a multi-layered meanings for me, but I'll discuss the most important one for us here. There was a tornado, a pretty big tornado. It formed out of a white cloud and a black cloud that met. And this tornado was, it's a pretty awe-inspiring thing and can be pretty scary. But in the middle of this tornado, about 2 meters up in the air, in perfect balance, there was a bicycle. So it was floating 2 meters in the air in the middle of a tornado. For me, this must be one of the most amazing symbols for balance in the midst of a tornado, okay? And it's also about kind of rising up from a low frequency to a higher one, many, many things in it. But of course, if you're in a very, very powerful relationship with, shall I say, the aware I, or the powerful aware I, or super aware I, then it's very much like this. You do not flee from the old world. You don't flee from the new world. You don't run away or fight or anything like that with your inner selves, with life as it is at this moment, with global warming, and warming, not global warning, I said, which is interesting, or anything else. You can just be with it in a very, very neutral position, which is extremely beneficial for us as well as for our world. I'm really, really serious about this. Us, getting in the fight, and I'm not talking about actually doing things to make things better. I'm talking about who we are when we do these things. Are we in fight or flight position? Or are we very, very calm and sort of in the midst of the storm, unharmed and unharming? Okay. So this dream from about a little bit more than a year ago is a really, really good example for one of the things that we're heading towards if we do our work. All this takes a lot of commitment, but it's fascinating work. And it really is a brave journey into the universe that we are, because we are so much more than we know. And every step along the way is worth it, even if we don't quite get to the new world in this lifetime or yet, because, it's all gifts and gifts and gifts every step of the way. Now, as I said earlier, a few of my dear students and friends and colleagues, all bound together, would like to say a bit about their experiences on the road so far. So I want to see who of you wants to share a little bit about that. So just, and until you decide, I didn't see many hands raised, so that's very interesting. So there wasn't a lot of doubt, criticism, and judgment that came up. Interesting. Okay, so who would like to say a little bit about their experiences on the way? And before we continue, I just want to remind everybody that as far as I know, there are very, very few, really a handful of people that are really, really in the new world at this point. But it's a process. So it's as if the center of gravity can, little by little, can move until we are, in a way, fully in the new world, or this interesting and wondrous experience, while we are still also in the old world, doing our work, washing the dishes and reading books and seeing series on Netflix and all the rest. So it's a process. Okay. All right, Aviv, we'd love to hear from you. So what are your experiences? You've been on the road for quite a long time, but.
Hello, everyone. So the first thing that comes up now is the kind of like, as you said, initiation dreams or initiation journeys that throughout the road, the mystery is so vivid. So even after, just to put here that I can have some kind of like a dream or a shamanic journey that I go into, and this writing down and journaling and keeping kind of like another eye, like with an eye on the work really helps, because after can be days, weeks, or even years to go back to it and maybe get the hidden treasures there. And so that's my kind of like add to it, that this work, as you said, it takes a lot of commitment, and part of the commitment is actually, for me, is in a way documenting and journaling and keeping myself posted with everything that happens within me, because my thinking mind sometimes forgets, and yeah, and it's important things. And last thing that I want to share, that also I had recently kind of like a dream that I was taken, and I saw myself and all kinds of versions of myself really being kind of like killed and tortured and being through all kinds of like bodily could say like misery. But the interesting thing was that I was able, it didn't felt like a nightmare. Like it didn't felt like a nightmare. I was able to look at it and just breathe through it, being with whatever happens. And for me, that is a bit similar to maybe what you shared about how can I be in the chaos, in the midst of like suffering, of the, can say like samsara, whatever, how do you want to call it, and still be present. And as you say, fight or flight, but more of a relax and repair. Just be me being present with whatever happens to me. It felt like it was me also, was very healing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. I'd also like to hear from you about voice dialogue, because there is going to be a short workshop or course beginning on the 5th of October. And what we're going to do there is really build the base of things like Aviv was mentioning. And the base is the way I work. Of course, there are other wonderful ways of doing the work, but the way I work, the base is through getting to know all our parts, ourselves, accepting them, which means accepting ourselves, and at the very same time, not identifying with all our very many voices, parts, or selves. And this creates the wonderful experience of the aware I as a navigating system, amongst other things. So I see Leo wants to say something about the experience with voices, with the inner parts. Yeah, Leo.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
You hear me? You hear me okay?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Okay. So I will start and say that English is not the language that I feel the most comfortable with, and I also have an allergy, so I will try my best.
Yeah, and
but what I want to say about voice dialogue.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay. And what I want to say about voice dialogue, it's first of all that you find that you have someone to talk with. This is one of the most important things that I have. But you have someone to talk with inside of you. If there is a conflict, something in relationship in life, not even with a person, like with money, with situations, you have someone to talk with in yourself to understand what is happening, what is really happening inside of you when you meet this situation, or when you meet this person, and when you meet this day, or when you meet everything. Really, you can work with it about everything. And the other things that I want to share is that from my perspective, what happens sometimes that we abandon ourselves in many situations, and what can abandon ourselves. And some of our characters or voices, our inner selves, taking the lead and leading our life without ourselves being present in the situation. So with voice dialogue, we're bringing back the leadership to ourselves in our life and being more present with the things that come up and that we meet, and we can look even deeper to our pains, our beliefs, our complex defense mechanism, and to bring a lot of presence. And this presence is not just something that you do in meditation, it's something that day life work, day life experience, and you can understand what is happening there. Like, why when I meet this person, I'm totally gone, and something else coming, another voice speaking from my voice and say this old thing again and again and again. And I'm angry so much. What is happening there? It's just, okay, this is me. I have nothing to do about it. No, we have something to do about it. We have someone to speak with. We can speak with this mechanism. We can speak with this voice. We can speak with this loop. We can speak with this belief, and to understand why and what they're sitting on when we abound ourselves, and then they coming and taking the lead. So the experience is that the freedom is getting bigger in our life, and you're getting more peaceful, and it's not feeling like someone else running the show, and or my pains or my traumas running the show. And I can say about my personal way that I can see that I have really much more to go. But even then, when I still get triggered sometimes, or sometimes not present, and other mechanism coming and running the show, these tools that I have now from voice dialogue really, really help me to know that I have something to do about it, and to do the work, and to see the change happening every day, really every day. I can say that my partner really want to come and to be part of it, because he saw the change in me that I did in my life, and that people around me really want to see what is happening, what are you learning, what is it, because the change is getting really, really, really fast, and not in a way that I'm rushing to do it, or like, oh my God, I have to change myself, it's not good. And I'm really just working for my inner peace, and the other and the peace to the other that I meet. It's not like oh my God, I'm not good enough. No, with that we also can work. But I'm doing the work because I'm just loving myself. It's like to eat a healthy thing. It's just like to drink water in the morning. It's very simple. Like, I love myself. I have a lot of gratitude about this life, and I want to make it wonderful. And I have these tools, so I'm doing the work. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've given a lot of very good examples for what it does to us. Great. Rina?
Okay, so, I mean, you now have a lot more people have said things since, a lot more has been said since I raised my hand.
You know, can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
You know, just in a few sentences, what changed in your life since you started really doing voice dialogue seriously, or Flowering Diamond Way in general, whatever feels right?
You know, to speak in a general sense, I think the thing is that when you're doing inner work, which is something that I've been interested in for at least 30 years, if not more. No, 40. But what you're looking for is, you realize that you have self-defeating patterns. You realize that you have emotional habits that are not helpful, and you don't know how to get rid of them. It's kind of like, the image came to me this morning. It's like, you know, being the little chick that's trapped in the egg.
Ooh.
But you know, you keep pecking and you're not getting out. And I think the thing that voice dialogue has enabled is, like, all of a sudden, like, suddenly you break through that shell, and things can fall away. That, you know, there's a lot of chipping away that that you do on the way, and you're like, this again. But then all of a sudden it's like, it just like opens up. And I think in 40 years, you get to try a lot of modalities that have been around. Sometimes we look at the older ones and we're like, really? We thought that was going to work? But
Yeah.
But this one really does. I mean, I think of all the modalities that I've experienced, this is just by far been the most effective in enabling to get to that place where suddenly things just open up, and there's just, you have a whole new world of possibilities, just like the limitation that was there before is not. And I remember the first time after we did a process that was very major, and a little while after that, I was in a conversation with some friends that brought up, yeah, well, you know, that phobia of making phone calls, it's just really hard. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's gone, you know.
That's
and
gone. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, that's sort of a small example, or you know, but that's the thing for me that is exciting about it. And the other thing that's really exciting about it is that, as opposed to a lot of these other things which were like grit your teeth and do your affirmations kind of thing, voice dialogue is really fun. I mean, it really is, you know, getting to talk to all those contrarian voices and miserable voices and bitchy voices, you know, and letting them say what they want to say. It's fun, and it's very enlivening. It feels so vivid. It adds so much life to just let what's inside speak, and without having to make it say anything in particular or anything good or constructive or worthwhile or admirable or any of that stuff. I mean, I can talk with, you know, a complete bitch or a completely victim, horribly depressed, I want to hide under my bed for the rest of my life, which should be as short as possible, kind of whatever. And
Sorry
it's
for
so
laughing.
helpful.
And it's what?
And it's helpful. It helps. And it's fun. So yeah.
Yeah, great. So Rina, thank you so much. We will now have to move to the mini workshop, but later there'll be time for you to add more, because by now I think we have at least 6 people here, if not more, who are both students on the Flowering Diamond Way, and also facilitators in their own right, and also good friends of mine, which is a great combination. So, and I'd love to hear from all of you if you feel like it. But we'll do the mini workshop now. So get yourselves pens, paper, whatever you need for that. And then we will get back, and you'll be very, very, I'll be very happy to hear how it was for you. Now, what we're doing, I've never done before with anybody else but myself. And even with myself, of course, I did it in a different way. But let's see. So as you get ready, I want to sum up a little bit of what was said here by Aviv, Leo, and Rina. And I want to suggest that, yes, we are solving all sorts of our problems using voice dialogue and other modalities like healing the past and things like that. And we're becoming more and more people who live with and through their aware I more often. But I want to remind us all that we can also see it in other ways. For example, how about that we are untying a very, very complex knot of karma through doing all this work. So all this feeling that so many people have of being very, very heavy and imprisoned and, you know, bearing the weight of things unknown and all sorts of very, very difficult things, we're actually, by doing voice dialogue and by doing all sorts of things, shamanic and others on the Flowering Diamond Way, we are resolving our karma. And when we resolve our karma, we're helping, to some extent, the world resolve its karma, and perhaps the universe. Now, we also become, I would say, vehicles of change, of transformation, and of healing. So it usually doesn't stay only with ourselves, because when we are healed and transformed, it affects our surroundings and helps, at least potentially, other people around us to do their own work. Okay? So, ready to go? Yep, okay. So we're beginning. Embodied new world. So now we are starting in the old world, the world that we know so well, definitely from this lifetime, possibly from many other lifetimes. It was rarely easy, sometimes fun, but we know it's a world that tends to be muddy. There's a lot of stress for many people, worries, judgment. But check for yourself. How do you feel in the old world right now? Okay, and write it down very briefly. Notice how your body feels as well. What emotions are present? Triggers, anger, feeling upset. Just notice everything. And also, please note how wounded you feel in general. Perhaps even give it a number or something, just for the game in it. And now we look at it all, however heavy or light it feels, and we accept it as it is. And even, if possible, we can caress it all. The old world with all its strife, wars, pain, wounds, muddiness, noise, and ourselves in it. We can embrace it, caress it, look at it with kind eyes, and accept it as it is. Suddenly, a bridge of light appears in front of you. This is a bridge to the new world and to the embodied new world. See this bridge of light. This bridge is also perhaps like a tunnel or a pipe, and you may be able to feel the different air and energy flowing from the new world into the old world, into you, into your bubble of reality, consciousness, identity. You may need to open your senses to find new senses inside you that you never had to use before, perhaps. So you can feel something so subtle, so delicate, so different. And if you'd like, write a little bit about it. Okay. Now, to go over this bridge of light or through this tunnel of light requires a kind of passport. And you can get this passport only if you do the necessary work to be balanced enough, heal your core wounds, heal your present relationships, your past, heal perhaps some other lives you've lived, collect lost soul parts perhaps, and more. Many things can make it impossible yet to cross the bridge. For example, being identified with our self-doubt. Self-criticism can stop us from getting the passport. We're not worthy enough, perhaps, to get the passport. Weakness that we identify with. No, none of these things are bad or wrong. It's just if they're uncared for and we identify with them, that they create problems for themselves and for us. Doubts that can stop us can also be, is this crazy? It's stupid. Is it stupid? Is it possible? Is it rational? Is it scientific? No. All things worth a thought and checking. But if we're identified with them, we will not be able to cross this bridge. And our beliefs about what is possible in general, what can be and what cannot be, and what is possible for us. You know, maybe Zelda can do it, but I'll never be able to do it. So now, do a little check and see what keeps you tied to the old world. Now, this is only, a tiny, tiny workshop. It deserves much more time, but write as much as you can in a minute or two. What keeps you tied to the old world and not mobile in such a way so you can travel between the worlds and be in both of them? What keeps us tied down? Okay. Now, of course, we can write for hours often, and writing is not enough. We need to do the actual work. And as I said earlier, it can be with all sorts of identity fields and bubbles that we are related to, both our inner selves and many, many other things that may be the source of all these things that are tying us into the old world and its limitations and pain and muddiness and beauty. And doing all this work can feel daunting and hard and too long, too much. But it's fun and joyful work. It's like going into the universe that we are to explore it. Okay? Now, today, I have a special permit to take us all on a guided tour. You will probably not be able to stay, as far as I know, but who knows? But it will give a kind of feel, a whiff of some of the gifts you get when you do enough inner work to cross over little by little in a wise and a safe and balanced way. Now, it may be possible that some of you will experience this more than others. Whatever happens, don't feel bad about it. It just points where the work needs to be done. And again, it's good work, and each step is such a blessing and changes our lives for the better in so many ways. So just whatever happens is absolutely fine. Okay? There's only winning possible here. So here is a magical flying bus that has just arrived. And we can all step into this bus, which is, of course, in our imagination, but we are actually experiencing something that is not regular reality, but is nonetheless very real. So we are hopping on this magical bus. Okay, so give yourself a second to adjust and to find a seat. Relax into your seat. Look at each other. Beautiful, loving pirates en route to a visit in the new world. And gently, gently, the bus is now crossing the bridge of light, however you perceive it personally. And very, very slowly, inch by inch, something changes as the bus leaves the old world and goes closer and closer into the new world. The new world is very young. It is still forming. But the energy is lovely. So different to what we are used to in the old world. Allow yourself to look around, experience it as much as possible, and write your impressions. I want to remind you to be willing to allow new senses to open up, to feel this new world. And write or draw something that will be there later, as Aviv said before, to remind you what was experienced. Now the bus is turning And gently, gently, we all together ride it back. Feeling the energy shift again on the bridge into the old world. And we've reached the old world again. And check again and write down, how do you feel? Did you learn anything about yourself? About what may be holding you back from embodying the new world in your body, in your cells? What work needs to be done? What did you learn about the old world and the new world? Is it worth it to make the effort to live in the new world, embody it, and also bring it back in a way into the old world? So take the time to write your impressions, whatever they are. And check what's going on in your body now. Now, very, very gently, we're beginning to return to a more regular reality. And I'd love to hear from you all. Anything you've experienced, thoughts, questions, how you relate it to voice dialogue, Flowering Diamond Way, or anything that comes to mind. What types of inner selves came up for you? Okay, you can either write in the chat in either Hebrew or English. If it's in Hebrew, I'll translate. Or you can speak. Just remember that we're also on Facebook Live, so take that into consideration. And this is going to be on YouTube too, so fair warning. Okay. But if you write in the chat, then I don't need to say who you are. So how are you right now? What did you experience? Give me a sign if you want to speak or write in the chat. Did anybody feel, okay, I see, Aviv. Yeah, how was it for you?
So it was beautiful, first of all, to really accept and to go deeper into what it means to be in the old world, like to really allow it, not to avoid it, not to be like, okay, not it, just to really like, okay, what does it mean? How does it feel? What does it mean? Like really, you know, you said muddy, so really like going in the mud, like really going there, in there, yeah. So that was very good to have, you know, to have a reference point, like for the new world. And before, when you said about this passport, this magic passport, and this voices that came up, like that are between me being fully there, was the one thing, the two things. One was this kind of like an inner voice that felt that what we're doing now, like even speaking about the new world, is kind of like wrong, that it's something that needs to be kept secret or hidden. So this is definitely some homework for me. Why? Interesting, I don't know.
Very.
Yes, yes. I can assume that it connected to one of my inner characters that I know from before, like the inner witch that was burnt and cast, and like is really actually afraid for her life. That if we speak about these things, like, you know, looking at the door, like somebody will just rush in and say something, you know, so this kind of like fear.
Say something or burn us.
Or burn us, yes, yes. Yeah, you know, with marshmallows and everything. So, and the second thing was that also felt really ouchy, is that what about all of my lovers, beloved friends that are this kind of like, I don't want to abandon anything. And this kind of like sums it up. When we returned from, by the way, in the new world, it felt like a huge giant kind of like caress, like a big caress that kind of like smooth things up. I don't know, like a fabric that just, like a satin fabric that just smooths things up. And it felt very like being in the unknown. But usually I know this unknown by being like this kind of like in this big black mystery. There it was not, it was in the unknown, but instead of this big black mystery, it actually was a very light mystery, like very like everything can happen, but in a light and not necessarily in the darkness.
Very interesting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And when I returned, I felt this kind of like, I kind of like saw myself as kind of like doesn't have a lot of words, but it kind of like I brought this, let's say, virus in a way, you know, some kind of like a something within me, in my system. And now when I walk around, whoever feels that are open to it in their genome, it's like they have the adapters for it. I can kind of like just be or do something, and then they kind of like contract it. So this, yeah, I know. This kind of like it kind of like bridged my sorrow on like abandoning the old world. It's kind of like, no, I'm not just going there and just, you know, flowing and just really like bringing it into my body and being kind of like an agent.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to relate a few things to what you said, because during my process, my movement, which is a very long process, I felt a lot of what you said. I felt the sorrow of leaving seemingly everyone behind, and even leaving the world itself behind. It sometimes felt like treason. It sometimes felt as if the world was hanging on to me. Don't go, don't go, don't leave me alone. You know, really very painful. It also sometimes, I felt this fear of being ridiculed, of course. Quite a long time ago, I'm glad to say, it began to dissipate, although of course if I am ridiculed, it won't be a pleasant experience, but it's not, you know, something that you just can't take. But also this fear of being an outcast and being, you know, away from the tribe, being lonely, being abandoned in a way, being in a new place, unknown, where nobody's there yet in a way. And this feeling that what's going to happen with all the loved ones that you mentioned. So everything that you mentioned, I know I've gone through that, and I had to work through it with a lot of commitment in order to proceed. So thanks a lot for everything you said. I want to read you something that was written in the chat. The new world is wonderful. I missed the bus back. I feel I am more there than in the old world. So having to remember the old world was good for me in terms of understanding what the problems are that I can solve for the people I work with and serve. The artists I'm speaking with for this upcoming workshops I'm doing. So that was a great present from this exercise, and the confirmation that I'm more in the new world than in the old one, which is reassuring, is a great feeling to know, since the imagination of it was much more than what I could sense before. Thank you. So I'm not sure if you want your name mentioned or not, so for now I don't mention it. And Rina, you wanted to say something, and I'm really eager to hear whoever wants to speak. Rina.
Okay, so I kind of had a different experience. All that isolation and fear and all of that anxiety I felt in the old world. That was my experience at the beginning, before we went anywhere or thought about going anywhere. And then when we got on the bus, I was like, I mean, it was funny. It was like, what, all these pirates on a bus? What are pirates doing on a bus? This is so silly.
It was a magical flying bus.
It still should have been a pirate ship, but anyway.
Okay, I noted, and I will improve.
It was okay. It was funny. It was really funny. But then when we got there, I felt like it was mostly like white mist. Like just this white mist. And I felt like actually there were a lot of people there, but the not a lot of people wasn't that there weren't a lot of, well, like that there weren't many. It was that they were kind of fading in and out, like we
Right.
would kind of like take form and coalesce, and then couldn't hold it anymore, or something would trigger us back there and pull us back, and we dissipate again. And so like just kind of, and I also then after a while, it seemed like maybe part of the reason that there was all this mist is that we are also constituting the world, and it's not there yet. It's not just that we're not there yet, it's that it's not there yet. And as we go up there, then more of it also takes form. So we're kind of co-embodying.
Yes, I believe so. You know, this is a great mystery for us all, but I believe that more and more people are beginning to kind of experience it back and forth, back and forth. I've began to see things like that here and there on the internet even. You know, people who have this experience, sometimes it's very difficult because it can be, you know, like you have all this weight off of you, and then suddenly you crash back into the muddiness and the pain and the stress and the worries and the difficulties and the stickiness of the old world, and people can think they've lost their way, or that it was only in their imagination, and it's quite a shift, and it has to be gradual also in order for us to go through with it and stay sane and balanced and take care of our kids, you know, not only our inner kids, but you know, our families and earn our living, and you know, so it has to be gradual. Yeah, back to you, Rena.
And also at least some of the things that keep me in the old world are things that are shedding, but some of them I felt like are very valuable signs of things that need tending. Like somehow that made it suddenly important. It made it like not a thing to shake off, but something to tend to.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminded me of a message that came through a number of years ago, was that we have to take everyone. Like you can't leave anyone behind.
Or you can, but there is a price to pay for that. That's my take on it, at least, because you're not really bringing as much as possible into the new world, and you're not embodying as much as possible with, how would I say it? If you're leaving too many parts of you behind, or wanting to leave, whether that's even possible, then you'll be less complete on the other side. And, you know, whatever that means again. So I completely agree with you that generally speaking, the idea is to do our best to take as much of ourselves as possible. And everybody must make the journey. And that is one of the things that makes it a gradual and slow journey, because some of our parts take longer to heal and to even find. Okay. What does that mean? Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah.
For me, it was more of a sense of, you can't say, those are the bad guys, they're not coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're trying in the work, and that is one of the things that I'm trying to teach, to take everybody on our pirate bus or whatever it is, and to move the entire thing. And this is really quite a challenge, because so many of our parts are afraid of change. So many are so deeply stuck in pain, and it takes a long time to help them heal. So many beliefs that we don't even know we have can stop us. And yet, if we kind of get the whole system of ourselves to generally agree that this is the way to go, it becomes much easier, because once we ask ourselves for their opinion and work with them and listen to their fears and really want their best, then it's much easier for the entire inner, I don't know how to call it, inner tribe for now, to work together for this goal with less resistance and less fears and doubts, etc. And this really is, for me too, a world that is not a finished thing. It's really only being born. That's my experience. And so we can all, in a way, take part in that. Okay. Thanks, Rina. Eran. Nice
Hi,
to see you
Oa. Hi,
here.
everyone. I must say that I didn't really mean to be in this talk. I wasn't even very aware of that talk until today, this morning, but somehow everything synchronized. And I said, okay, I'll go in. I don't know what it's about. I'll go in and see if it's good for me or not. And I come from days that I have a lot of pain, actually physical pain, a lot of pain. So this talk about old world and new world, I'm really into the old world of a lot of pain. And so it was very interesting, inspiring to be able to get a glimpse of a new world. What is this new world for me? And which is, I say again, that is something that I very much like about the way you work, Ora, is that you say, what is the world, the new world for you? You don't tell us what it is. You don't tell us what is the way to get there, but you say, there is something over there. You should explore what it is for you. What is your way of getting there? I can just offer you all kinds of clues and hints and ways, but it's your journey, which I like very much, because it gives me the freedom to be what I am and experience things my way. And so for me, when I went on this bus, it was something very psychedelic. It was something very sensual. It was something that I was like, how do you say in English, להתפלש in something?
I forget the word.
Yeah, I'm inside it. I'm crawling inside it. It's all around me. I'm one with it. It keeps changing, and it's a lot of color and light and movement and sensual feeling, and I'm inside of it, and I'm dancing it, and I'm making love with it all the time, and it keeps changing. And that is what I want. And I'm creative, and the creation, I'm one at this creation with the world. This is what I want. I want to move spontaneously, aware, through the things, with the things, and just be, and feel a lot of pleasure in being. So that was so much contrary to all the pain that I'm feeling. And I also wanted to say, maybe ask something about two models of thinking about things. One is like moving from the old world to the new world by bus, taking with us things. But the other model, I think you said it, at least that's what I remember, is it's like two layers of reality at the same time, that I'm here and I experienced the two layers, the old world and the new world, simultaneously moving through the world, which is quite a different model for me, at least. So I wanted to hear you say maybe something more about the difference between these two ways of looking at it.
Well, my experience is that all sorts of interesting things happen, and each time, I explore something different. So sometimes it feels like being in both old and new at the same time, like a double perspective, or a double, two layers of being, or things like that. Sometimes it feels like I'm in a bubble of the new world inside the old world. So it's as if I bring, or I allow myself to be the new world, separate from the old world, but it's not a separation as in, I hate the old world, I don't want anything to do with it, I don't care about it, let it burn, or something like that. Nothing like that. But it's not enabling the old world to swallow me. Because if I'm swallowed by the old world, as much as I love it, then I can't be the new world. And when I'm not the new world, I don't bring any use in that way. You know, maybe in other ways I do. But as one of my purposes in life, it turned out to be, is to exemplify something, to be a kind of model of what is possible nowadays. It wasn't possible 20 years ago, I think. It's new, amazingly enough, lucky us. So what is possible, I would not be able to maintain this energy most of the time if I allowed the old world to kind of, I don't want to use judgmental words, but to infringe on my sovereignty, on my sacred space. This is my space, and I am allowed to live in it in the way that I choose. And I choose now to live in the new world, but to be on very good terms with the old and to stay grounded in the old as well. So we can play with it. What might be exactly right for me is not necessarily what is right for somebody else. You know, we each have a journey to do, to make, and to explore what is right for us and how to get there. Now, it all moves through healing ourselves. So we really, really can't jump directly into the new world. It just can't happen. We have work to do. We are really tied down. Some less, some more, you know, it depends. But we have to do certain things in order to be able to move there and to also bring it back here and to have it in our bodies. So one of the reasons I'm doing this live is to remind us all how worthy it is to put in the effort into ourselves, first of all. So we need to heal ourselves if we want to live like that. We need to take good care of ourselves in body and soul, and, you know, heal our relationships as much as possible, heal our past as much as possible, heal other lives we've lived, the ones that are holding us back at least. You know, how much of all this for each one of us is necessary? I don't know. It can be, you know, I know that I had to do a lot of work because I'm supposed to teach it. So, you know, I really have to understand it from as many aspects as possible. But maybe for some of you, it's not necessarily to go through all the pain I went through and all the hours of work. I don't know, we will see.
Yes.
But what I can say is that whatever you need to do, I haven't as yet found anything more worthwhile. And I've had a great, great life with a lot of challenges and pain and difficulties, but a really good life ever since I got out of my decade of depression. It's been a wonderful life. So interesting and so filled with love and good friends. Some of them are right here with me. and you know, so much joy and fun and wonderful things and change. So it's not as if I'm running away from a terrible life. Okay, but this is where we're headed. And it's worth putting in the effort right now and not waiting for the next life, for example, like so many are doing right now. You know, just giving up and say, okay, so I'll just, you know, I'll just die and then we'll see. We don't know how easy it's going to be in the next life. Probably still going to be pretty difficult to make the move. So now is the time. And now the trains are going over the bridge. So whether we make it soon or never, I really want to remind you that it's really a worthy try. And that each step of the way, even if we don't make it in this lifetime, is a huge gift to us and to all the people around us. So we just heal a little bit. Wow, what a quality of life we gain from that.
Yeah,
And if we heal even a little bit more, wow, 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 and so on and so forth. And if we make it to the new world, wow, you know, wowest. Okay, so we have to be happy with each step of the way and really grateful to ourselves for doing it. So thanks a lot for that, Iran. And I have a few words just that I need to say before we end, and then I want to hear from you if you have a few more words too. As I said, very soon, in a few days actually, October 5th, we're having a very tiny taste of a course, but it's a very deep one as well. The Inner Selves Make Love. So it's on the 5th and the 12th of October 21. And it's on Zoom and face-to-face and through recordings to suit all time zones around the world. And it's a good way, a really good place to start your journey. Because, why is it so important? Because doing this work and trying to get to the new world also has its problems. You know, I meet once in a while people who went into very deep spiritual work and really got lost or became a bit crazy because they didn't build a proper base. They didn't do the work of accepting all their selves, for example, or at least a good share of them. And then they're not really solid, they're not balanced enough to do really, really good and effective and healthy spiritual work of this kind. So we're going to begin building this base. And whether people want to continue further later on in October or not, it stands alone. People who did it last time were very happy with what they got from it. Just to kind of help people decide whether they want to join us or not, if you've been here or seen the recording and today or tomorrow you get in touch with me, Ora Gavrieli with a Y at gmail.com or Ora Gavrieli with a Y on Facebook, you also deserve a nice discount. Okay, so hop on the train and join us. We'll really be happy to meet with you all. So that's what I wanted to remind you all. And words to kind of close today. Anything else you'd like to say, ask, share, whatever? I see that somebody wrote in the chat. Let's see. Someone wrote, it was a moving experience to simply move with a lot of delicacy and pleasure into the new world. A very, very giant thank you, dear Ora. Thank you very, very much for this. Anybody else want to say something before we close?
I would like to say something.
Sure.
I just want to say thank you so much from the depths of my heart to all of us. One of the fears that was in me in stepping into this new world and being this agent was the fear of being alone in it. And just this this space that we create together, that we are so bravely investigating within ourselves, what does it mean to do the shift, makes me feel so much in ease and this togetherness. So thank you so much for that. It's dear to my heart.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who are here and to all of you who have really joined me in this, in the general kind of road and travel. It's for me too, it's so important that we're together in this. Otherwise it would be much more difficult. And it makes it so much fun too, and so much, so joyful and loving to be together on the way. And I'm really waiting to meet more loving pirates, as I now call them, who want to join us. And we've had here many people who are also great facilitators in all sorts of ways. I don't know if all of you want to be mentioned, but I'll mention the ones that I'm sure are okay. So we have Aviv Shalem and Leo Shalom, which had to leave us earlier, and Rina Kesem and Eran Rice, and Noah Schechter. The others, I'm afraid I'm not sure I'm allowed to say your names, but so glad that you're with me here and in general. And much love to you all, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or here on Zoom. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
Love you all.
Love you too.
Yeah, how about we, for a second, we all unmute and just to say goodbye with our voices.
Yes,
So-
goodbye, Ora. Thank you
Bye
very much.
bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot for being here and
Yeah,
Goodbye.
and
Thank you very
and
much.
adding from
Thanks
your
so much.
wisdom and knowledge.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to be with you.
Thanks.
Thank you.